What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got English One Piece cards. It's taken a while, frankly, to get English One Piece cards. We've been talking about this game on the channel for a while now. I've been covering this game literally the day it was announced. I made a video saying, hey, it's coming. We talked about all the cards that are coming out. We talked about a whole variety of topics. I've even done openings on this channel of the first 4 starter decks in Japanese. I've not been able to get hold of starter decks 5 or 6 for a reasonable price, which is a little bit sad, but seriously, trying to get hold of any Japanese One Piece cards at the moment is very difficult. I did do an opening of one box of Romance Dawn, which was very cool, and I do have at the moment, up-to-date and complete set of Japanese numbered promos, not the alternate art promos. I'm not rich, but the numbered promos, I'm doing pretty well on those. But now, ladies and gentlemen, now we get to open actual English products. And yes, you will notice these are the first edition starter decks, denoted on the box by a first edition little stamp. And I need to give a massive shout out here to my local game store, the lovely Mad for Miniatures. It is a wonderful local game store, and they did hook me up with the decks, and I am extremely grateful. They are awesome, awesome people. Love it down there. They're really good people. If you ever are in Cornwall, down in the UK, do go check them out. And this isn't a sponsored video. These weren't free. I paid for them. I'm just telling you that it's my local game store, and they're very cool people, and I would like to tell you that. But just to be clear, this is not a sponsored video. I went down like a good boy and paid my own money like I was supposed to. Now, the really cool thing about this is that all the cards, I thought it was just a leader, but it turns out all the cards are stamped with Super PreRelease. And I especially love that the Don cards are stamped with Super PreRelease, because that means that in the future, I'm going to be able to go to basically every tournament with Super PreRelease Don, because I'm going to have 4 sets of Super PreRelease Don. I don't need to keep them all lovely in a binder. So here we just have 10 Don cards, all of which have Super PreRelease on them, and that is wonderful. I am actually probably going to put all these into a binder though. So, what do we have? Now this is the real selling point of the decks. This is why you have to have them. Alternate art, Super PreRelease leaders. And I think I am going to have to, I don't really want to muck around sleeving these yet, but I'm going to have to for the leaders. And these are just amazing. They are not the same artwork that we see in the regular starter decks, and they're stamped. This is just amazing. So there's your Luffy. And then, as is the case, there are 4 super rares. We got 2 copies of the Monkey D. Luffy, again stamped with Super PreRelease. This is the one that's got Rush, which is cool. It attacks straight right away. And when attacking, your opponent cannot activate blocker. Well, that's Don X2. So, extremely cool cards here. And then we got Verona Zorro. Again, these super rare. When they're designated as a super rare, even in the starter deck, it means they're hollow, which is very cool. Don X1, this character gains 1,000 power. And again, it's got the Super PreRelease stamp. So, they're the real kind of highlight cards. And then we've just got everything else, which we'll run through nice and quickly. Oh, and then there are a couple of kind of how to play cards at the back, which we're not going to worry about too much. So, we have ourselves 4 copies of Usopp. There we go. We got ourselves 4 copies of Karoo. That is one of your vanilla cards, no skills. We've got ourselves 4 copies, of Sanjay. Don X2, you get Rush. We've got ourselves 4 copies of Jinbei. And again, all of these, every single card stamped with Super PreRelease. Tony Chopper is your 1-cost blocker, which is extremely cool. Playset of that. We got a couple of copies, a whole playset, of Nami, which is very cool. We got ourselves a playset of Nico Robin. That is a vanilla card, of course. We got ourselves a playset of Nefeltari Vivi. Let's go for that. Again, a vanilla character. We got a playset of Frankie, a vanilla character. 2 copies of Bones, not a vanilla character. When you play, you go up to 2 rested Don cards to your leader or one of your characters. That seems good. We got ourselves Guard Point, 2 copies of that. We've got ourselves Gum Gum Jet Pistol, a couple copies of that. We've got ourselves Diable Jambe. And then we got ourselves a couple copies of Thousand Sunny. All stamped, all lovely. Of course, do remember, and this is quite important to remember, that with these decks, the Super Pre-Release are only available at the Super Pre-Release. Which means, and the way the Super Pre-Release tournament works, is you can enter with essentially any card. So it's not you take a deck, it's you take a deck made of any cards that are in the promo pack or Super Pre-Release. So the cards that come as 2-ofs, and you'll notice all of these decks have a bunch of cards that come as 2-ofs. You can get 2 copies of the decks and play them as 4-ofs, but if you do that, you've got to try and get 2 copies of the same Super Pre-Release deck, and you'll notice at the moment that is not an easy thing to actually achieve. So good luck with that. Also, it's kind of weird. Oh, you got Don again in this one. Because on the one hand, it works out quite nicely. You buy 1 of each of the Super Pre-Release, and you buy 1 each of the regular, and then you've got 2 copies of the starter decks. You need 2 copies, so you've got a play set of everything. But then half of the, some of the cards are stamped Super Pre-Release and some of them aren't. It gets awkward. So your leader here is Eustace Kid. And again, we've got alternate art, we've got stamped, it is. The leader cards are really the big ones here. They're the ones you need to get them for if you're going to get them. But then we've also got a couple copies of Trafalgar Law, which is a designated super rare here. When you play, you set 1 of your Supernova or Heart Pirate type resting characters with a cost of 5 or less to active. And then we've got 2 copies of Eustace Captain Kidd. Again, stamped with Super Pre-Release. And this is a blocker. Don X1, end of your turn, set this card to active. So again, like we saw in the Monkey deck, we got 4 cards, 2 each of 2, that are designated super rares, and you only get 2 of, but they're all shiny. So here we've got a playset of Vito, who's a vanilla card. We've got a playset of, 2 of Aruge. Don X1, you've got 3 or more characters, you get 2,000 power. We've got ourselves a playset of Capone Gang Beige, a 1-cost blocker. That's going to be useful. We've got ourselves Killer. On play, KO 1 of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. Only 2 of those. We've got ourselves Kobe as a playset. We've got ourselves Jewelry Bonnie as a playset. We've got ourselves Scratch Manapoo. Comes in as a playset. Again, every single card in the deck is stamped Super Pre-Release. Basil Hawkins comes in as just a 2-of. Heat is vanilla, so you know you're getting a playset. Beppo is vanilla, so you know you're getting a playset. X Drake, you do get a full playset of that. And then we got ourselves a couple copies of Scalpel, 4 copies of Repel, and then 2 copies of Straw Sword. Now, if you follow me on my other channel, PTCG Radio, where we mostly talk Pokemon, you'll know that I am an absolute sucker for a nice stamped card. So, yeah, the fact that they're stamping... And I thought, when I first got these decks, I thought the case was that you got an alternate art stamped leader. And that was enough, incidentally. That was all I needed. You give me an alternate art stamped leader, and that was good enough for me. Now I find out that it's every single card that's stamped, including the Don, and you get 10 of those in each deck, and that is amazing. So over in the Crocodile deck, once again, we got ourselves the alternate art stamped leader, and I do believe that in the future, because these have been such a, because most stores have not been getting, been getting kind of 8 of each deck, so I do believe that in the future, these are going to be a real pain to get hold of. We've then got 2 copies of Crocodile. That's one that blocker and Don X1 on block. Place a character of a cost of 2 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So that's kind of cool. And then we've got Don Quixote De Flamingo. Again, super rare. On play, return 1 character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand. Remember, when it says a character and doesn't say yours or your opponent's, you do have a free choice of everyone, which is quite nice. We've then got ourselves a playset of Edward Weevil. It's a vanilla card, of course we do. We've got ourselves 2 Gecko Moria. That's the one that lets you add a 7 Warlords of the Sea or Thriller Black Pirates character of a cost of 4 or less from your trash to your hand. We've got ourselves 2 copies of Dracula Mihawk. When attacking, draw 2 cards, trash 2. We got ourselves a playset of Jinbei. It's vanilla, obviously. We got ourselves 2 copies of Sentomaru. Once per turn, activate main, pay 2, if you do so. You can play a pacifist of a cost of 4 or less from your deck, which is nuts. We've got Trafalgar Law that comes as a 4 of here. We got ourselves a Bartholomew Kuma as a 4 of. Buggy is a vanilla, so obviously that's a 4 of. Oh. The aforementioned Pacifista that can be played for free. We got ourselves Bo Hancock that it is as a 4 of as well. We've then got a 2 cost of Marshall D. Teach. When you play, return a cat to a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. And then we got ourselves a playset of Sables, a playset of Thrust Pad Cannon, and 2 Love Love Mellow, plus the obligatory Learn to Play cards. And then one more. Now this is my personal choice. Had I only been able to get one, this was the one I wanted. And I'm going to be playing, obviously, well, I'm going to try to play in the online tournaments. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. If I am lucky enough to get a space in the online tournaments, I'm probably going to be playing the Kaido deck, just because I want to play the Kaido deck and you can't stop me. Plus, I'm not in it I'm not going to be one of those hyper-competitive people desperately trying to win. Although if I do win, yay! Now, we got ourselves a Kaido leader. Again, we got alternate art. Again, we got the Super pre-release stamp. Love me some alternate art of Kaido there. We've then got your obligatory 2 super rares, one of which is, of course, the aforementioned Kaido. On play, Don -5. That shuffle 5 back into your deck. KO one of your opponent's characters for a cost of 6 or less, and then you gain Rush. You can attack this turn. And then we've got King. On play, Don -1. And, yeah, you KO one of your opponent's characters for a cost of 4 or less. So that's one of the things they do here. You've got the whole returning your Don to your deck thing. And then finally, just having a quick look at these cards, we've got a playset of Ulti. We've got ourselves 2 copies of Queen. That's your blocker, and on play, Don -1. And you get to draw 2 cards and trash 1. We got ourselves a playset of Sasaki here. A playset of Sheepshed, if it's another character, obviously. We've got ourselves 2 copies of Jack. You can trash 1 card from your hand and add a card from your Don deck. Set it as active. We got ourselves a playset of Jin Rummy. We got ourselves a couple of Who's Who. That's the Don -1. You KO one of your opponent's characters at a cost of 3 or less. We got ourselves a Black Maria playset thereof. We got ourselves a playset of, oh, I went off camera there, Page 1. And we got ourselves a playset of X Drake. And then we got ourselves 2 Lead Performer Disaster. We've got ourselves 2 Brachio Bomber, 4 Blast Breath, and then 4 Onigashima Island. You'll notice only red and purple actually have the stages in the starter decks. So, that's them. And a bit of a rush, I'm afraid, because, I don't want to take forever showing you all the decks. These are very cool. And there are questions you can ask that are fair questions. Not everyone's had access to the Super pre-release decks. So, not everyone can enter these Super pre-release tournaments, the limited deck tournaments. I do think that is a potential problem. And even I'm entering, but I'm not going to go and buy a second copy of any of these decks because I've not got that much money. But some people have done that, either because they were able to get 2 at a local game store of the same, or because they were just buying on the secondary market. So all of a sudden, those people who shouldn't really be getting 2 copies of any of the one deck due to the way it's set up, all of a sudden those people have a bit of an advantage. That is a big problem as far as I'm concerned. But for now, I am very, very grateful to the lovely folks at Mad for Miniatures for hooking me up, making sure I got all 4 of these decks. And look, I ain't selling any of these. These are collector's pieces for me. They are amazing, and I love them. And I'm delighted. And I get to enter the Super pre-release limited event, so that's pretty cool as well. Right, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you think about this. Give me all your thoughts on the starter decks. Go nuts, be nice, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Pete No Wassy Plays. Bye!